Hey, family, it's me, Queenie Brown. I got a question for you. With everything that's going on in the world right now, is your mind on your money and your money on your mind? Well, I got to tell you, the Kingsman and I have been talking about it too, and we want to just start the conversation going a little bit deeper into what is it about this money. We want to understand where it started, how it's showing up in our lives today, and where it's going in light of everything that's going on. So I want to bring on our Kingsmen, Mr. Donovan Yarbo, Mr. Dwayne Taylor. Say hello, gentlemen.
What's going on, family?
Hey,
Hello,
hey.
family. Good evening. Good evening.
Everybody good?
We all good. We're all good. It's been an interesting few weeks, but we are rolling through it, rising through it, and knowing that it'll never be what it was. Like we said last week, after today and after this time, it'll be BC before Corona and after Corona.
Yeah.
But it's
Life
important.
before Corona and after.
Right. But it's important for us to get an understanding about our money because right now things are shifting and things are changing in a way that most of us don't have an understanding. And so we wanted to go into depth and help everybody have some clarity around this whole currency conversation and what are our options? What's available to us? What are we really dealing with? I was watching a video today and they were talking about the stimulus and all this money that is just being printed, like you all talk about all the time. And my thought is,
Mhm.
where will the dollar be on the other side of that stimulus? And if it looks like I think it's going to look, then perhaps we might need to be real strategic about how we use the stimulus. So I wanted to open the conversation, gentlemen, and just kind of you guys can start us at the beginning. Where did money come from? What's money all about?
I want to start. Dwayne, Mr. Taylor, you think about the answer to that question. I just want to add on to your intro, Mrs. Brown. And, the main thing that I want to do is I want to stimulate the thought process,
Mhm.
because a great man once said that the problem with most people, and that great man is Earl Nightingale, the problem with most people is that they don't think. We're operating on autopilot so much that we're not thinking and we're seeing things happen right before our eyes and we can't make the switch.
Mm-hmm.
We're not making the change. You know, we were schooled and dumbed down in the public school system. Not all of us. I know some people were in the private school system, but it was still the same premises. The ringing of bells meant the changing of class meant that it was time to move. And if there's no bell ringing, like I referenced last week, then we don't move. Well, you got to be able to think and see the signs in front of you and see that that is the ringing bell, that is the clarion call, that it's time to make a change and not time to wait and see. Now it's time to make a change. So, Mr. Taylor, I turn it over to you to get us started off on the history of money.
Um, well, we know, um, according to our studies, eventually I come to learn and understand. And once again, when we talk, this is information that we've come to discover. Like I didn't know this information 5 years ago. I didn't have a clue about this information. I mean, I knew gold was valuable. I understood that, but I didn't understand that gold was truly money. I don't know if you have those seven fungible, expungible. Do you have that, Mr. Yarbo?
I do. I don't have it available to share, but what do you want first, currency or money?
Let's well when I get there we'll say it.
Okay.
So um so I never had this information, right? But when I went on this journey and got involved with the wealth building company we discussed last week, it just set me on this journey when you really begin to study money. And I'm a refer a book that I believe if you really want to begin to understand money, let me I'm gonna have to change it. Hold on, let me undo my background so y'all can see it. It says The Creature from Jekyll Island, right? It's a pretty thick book, but it's a good read. And this is going to really give you a very strong foundation of what money truly is, how our current system came to be. But if we're going to talk about what real money is, we got to go back into history. We know back in history, the purest form of money back in that time, we knew it used to be shells and things like that. But when it first became a measured type of money, it was gold or it was silver. That's what they all used in ancient times. And even in our Constitution, the only thing that was supposed to be labeled as money, the only thing that could be used for money in our country was actually gold and silver coins. Our entire Constitution was to fight what we have right now today, and that's a fiat currency. And I'll go into that in a little bit. Um, I'll talk about that in a little bit from this book. I'll read a little passage from this book, but we understand that um, fiat currency is just that. It's legal tender to pay all debts, private and public. It's not real money because here's the definition of money. Let's go over those 7 things. Let's go over currency and then money, and you'll hear that there's the exact same thing except for one thing that separates currency from money. And Mr. Yarbo, I believe he has that.
I
That
do. I just texted to you on your phone. So if you check your phone,
Oh, okay.
you'll have it as well if it's near you.
All right, so let me go ahead and read this real quick. All right, so here's currency. It's a medium of exchange and a unit of account. Here's money, a medium of exchange, a unit of account. It's portable, right? Money is portable. Currency is durable. Money is durable. Currency is divisible. Money is divisible. Currency is fungible, meaning it's interchangeable. Money is fungible, right? Our current paper and coin currencies lose spending power fast because the supply is constantly being expanded by the banks, so devaluing the entire supply. Precious metals maintain their spending power over long periods of time because the supply cannot be reproduced or expanded by the banks. So there's 3 check marks. So currency, printed check, minute check, store of value, no check. Money, printed, nope. Minted, nope. Store of value, check. So we understand that. You were saying something, Mr. Yarbo?
No, I'm just giving you
Oh,
a thumbs
okay.
up. Yeah.
So we understand that when it comes between currency and money, and we got to really, and when we're talking, remember, we're talking about saving, right? We're talking about saving a portion of everything that you earn and putting it in something that's going to preserve and protect what you're laboring for. Those 3 words hit me every time, and I'm always trying to think what's the best way to get people to see that picture in their mind, store of value. And I guess, because I don't think people really catch it when you say it's a store of value. Well, what does that mean, store of value? And the only way I can really think about it, I had this one picture one time, like if you had, let's say we lived in a time where they knew you were going to need a blood supply 30 years from now, and you had a choice to contain it in something that was going to protect it and preserve it so you could live off of that blood, or would you choose to put it in something where it's going to leak, the thing might crack, it's going to leak your blood out, and then when you go to live on it 30 years from now, instead of having a full tank, you already on the yellow light, talking about time to fill up, because that's storing your life. You laboring for something that really has no value is you trading your life, which is the true value, for nothing. Your life is the true value. So if you're going to labor for something that has no value, and we're telling you to, man, me and Mr. Yarbo yesterday, we show people how to keep your money. Keep. Don't
Keep,
spend. Keep a
keep.
portion of your money. Just
Mhm.
it's not hard, but you've been trained so much to just spend it. So if we're talking about keeping a portion of that which we labor for, why not keep it as something that's going to protect it so you can and it's not even for you necessarily, it's for your generations to come. Okay, if you don't have grandchildren or you don't have children, hey, that's different. You should still save it though for something you want to live on further down the road. You might not pass it down, but you can use that to live on later on in your life. So you might not pass that down to generations, but you still want to have it for your future life. You don't want to go to the end of your future life and have no store value.
Mm.
Go ahead, Mr. Yarbo.
Yeah, man. All
Uh-oh.
No. Well, while we're
Let,
waiting,
let me text him and let him know real quick.
yeah, while we're waiting for him to come back, you just blew my hair back with what you just said. Um,
back and forth.
you back?
Did, did I
Okay.
freeze
You
again?
did.
Yeah,
You
there you
did.
go.
Yeah, them gremlins in the machines again.
They know.
My wife has been streaming with her clients all day, and now it's time for me and everybody in their mama home watching Netflix.
Right.
That's not going to add a lick of value to your
Right.
life when you see the last act of this play,
Mm.
right? But it never ceases to amaze me, Mr. Taylor, the way you explain it and the way you break down keeping our money. And really, let's use the right terms. Keeping our currency,
Mm,
we keep our currency. That is how our system works, where we don't spend. And one thing I was researching today is I saw that the wealthy circulate their currency.
Mm.
It's a current. They
mm,
circulate it, and in circulating it, you make sure that it comes back to you, where the poor and middle class spend it. So it immediately goes away. So we cut off the cycle of it coming back. And then we have to go and trade time for more currency to buy more stuff.
Mm.
But I did want to go ahead and get to the root of the dollar, the US dollar. And really we can use any dollar because the Australians call their currency the dollar, the Canadians call it the dollar. Whatever country calls it, whatever, is a freely floating currency with nothing backing it except the full faith and credit of that nation. For us, we say the full faith and credit of the US. The US is $23 trillion in debt.
Mm.
What is our credit? We have none, but we have the big bad military. But the way things started, as Mr. Taylor referenced, that the when the Constitution was written in Article, I believe it was Article 1, Section 10, that money
mm,
shall only be gold and silver because they knew that it couldn't be manipulated.
Mm.
And that's what they were coming out of. So in the "We the People of the United States to form a more perfect union," they wrote in there that when the time comes for people to overthrow its government and to get away from the tyranny because they're being stopped from the pursuit of happiness and liberty, that they have to put on new government. And when they started this government, they knew that if we allow a central bank or we allow the money to be printed with nothing backing it, eventually we will be right back where we started at before 1776. Right? So now here we are. The cycle of this dispensation of time has brought us right back to the tyranny of a central bank, the tyranny of printing money, printing currency without anything backing it, no value, and the robbing of your true wealth, which is your time. I mean, literally, there are vultures out there that are living off of your time while they're on the golf course, while they're building super yachts that cost billions of dollars. We are here slaving for something that's not even holding its value because it was not designed to. When this paper originally was brought back into existence, it was a certificate. So it did not, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that says silver certificate.
mm,
So what a certificate was a claim check on money. And what this silver certificate represented was this, basically an ounce of silver. It
mm.
says it says here on the bottom, I'm blocking it, pay to the bearer on demand. Yeah, it's real small. Pay
It's
to the
blurry.
bearer on
Back up a
demand
little bit.
$1. Huh?
I was gonna say just back up a little bit. It was a little
Oh,
blurry,
okay.
but it's all good. You can read it.
Mhm.
Pay to the bearer on demand $1 in silver. So instead of walking around with an ounce of silver coins, it was much easier to walk around with this certificate that certified that I had money. It certified that I had a store of value. This does not certify that I have a store of value. Why? Because I can go somewhere in the world where they will kill me for attempting to use this note.
Mm.
Get that paper out of here. It is worthless. It is not accepted here. So what the powers to be did was they didn't start immediately and take control and say, okay, we got the power, like the book that Mr. Taylor referenced, the Jekyll from the creature from Jekyll Island. I look up because I have that book as well. Anybody that studies monetary history needs that book. Anybody that wants to understand how we got in the position we got in needs that book. Or here's the Cliff Notes. Go to YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and pull up Mike Maloney's The Hidden Secrets of Money and binge watch that from episode 1 to episode 10, and you will know exactly why Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Brown, and Mr. Yarbo are on your airwaves right now, screaming at the low resonance of our lungs. You need to voluntarily remove yourself from this dollar paradigm and get gold and silver. Now you ask why, and I posted this on my Facebook today. The dollars that you work hard for, these right here, that you work so hard for, that you labor for most of us, this represents an hour of our time. $20. $20 an hour I get paid for 8 hours a day, right? This represents an hour of my time. I'm working hard for them. Well, to stimulate the economy, because almost 10 million people just filed for unemployment here in the United States. Today is April 3rd, 2020. And over this last week, we had 3.3 million file one day, and then another 6.6 million file for unemployment benefits another day through either the loss of work or the loss of wages. Either way, their lifestyle has been reduced. So they're looking for a handout. Not really a handout. They're looking for assistance. Right? So who are they going to? They're going to their government. Well, their government doesn't have the money. So what is the government going to do? They're going to print it and give it to them. So while we're still working hard for these, they're just going to print them and give them away. So hold on. If you were working hard, let's just use a rubber band. If you were working hard for a rubber band and then you found out that there was 10 million people just getting rubber bands handed out, well, what is your work worth? What is that hard work worth now if they're just handing them out? So then what does that make the rubber band worth? You see that? Oh, man, that's so poignant. The rubber band popped. What does that make the rubber band worth? It makes it worthless. Does it happen immediately? No, but the writing is on the wall. The alarm bells are ringing. These dollars are becoming worthless. Why? Because they're printing them to oblivion. You have to take these dollars while you can and voluntarily turn them back into certificates and start exchanging these for real money, which is silver and gold. It is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look for the reason why do I need to do that? What am I going to do with the silver and gold? What are you going to do with worthless paper when it cannot buy you anything, when it has no buying power, where no one will accept it, where the central banks have already told you, yeah, we're looking into doing a digital currency. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but you see the headlines. Or are you still watching Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus? Get your head out of the entertainment. Yes, me and my wife, we still watch TV. We enjoyed a great series over the last couple of days. But the one thing that she knows that I'm doing and that she's doing for our future is we're paying ourselves first while we can by taking the first portion of these. The first portion, I pay us first and acquiring real silver and real gold, because these have lost 97% of their buying power since 1913. Since the creature from Jekyll Island first reared its ugly head until now. So with them printing it and just giving trillions away to stimulate the economy, the value will soon go to zero. Mr. Taylor, Ms. Brown, back to you guys.
And I think what people need to understand. Do you want to go ahead and say something, Miss Queenie? Um, when we talk about the Federal Reserve, you have to understand that it was a malicious plot to undergird our government. They wanted control of the money because before the Federal Reserve, we were not in debt as a nation. Like
Mm-hmm.
we weren't in debt. We owed nobody. We were positive. But the bankers, what people have to understand what the Federal Reserve is, the Federal Reserve is nothing more than a banking cartel. They're no different than a drug cartel. That's what they are. They are a group of people who have taken control of a certain entity and they control it. So these private families control the printing of the government. So every time the government now needs money, instead of the government printing the money for the people, they got to go get permission from these bankers. Say, hey, we need some money because our people need money for this and that and this and that. Okay, well, we gonna print it for you, but every one of these that is printed, there's gonna be one of these added as interest. So how would we ever be out of debt as a government, as a country? This entire United States of America, the people, is under the control of a group of men and their families. They print the paper. And I want to go back into a little history. I'm gonna give the definition of fiat currency according to the American Heritage Dictionary, but people don't understand the first form of fiat currency was Genghis Khan. When all these travelers would come, because Genghis Khan had one of the biggest territories, largest territories back in the day, right? Marco Polo, he came through and noticed that Genghis Khan would ask for the travelers gold and silver, and he would give them these little pieces of paper with his seal to spend throughout his kingdom.
Hmm.
So he would take their gold and he would give them these forms of paper with his seal, and it was good as gold. That was the thing. It was good as gold. And if you were caught forging them, you would get killed. But that was, and actually, the Federal Reserve took that concept.
Wow.
And that's what they're doing now. And let me read a little bit. If fiat money, the American Heritage Dictionary defines fiat money as paper money, decreed legal tender, not backed by gold or silver. The two characteristics of fiat money, therefore, are one, it does not represent anything of intrinsic value, and
Wow.
two, it is decreed legal tender. Legal tender simply means that there is a law requiring everyone to accept the currency in commerce. The two always go together because since the money really is worthless, it soon would be rejected by the public in favor of a more reliable medium of exchange, such as gold or silver coin. Thus, when governments issue fiat money, they always declare it to be legal tender under pain of fine or imprisonment.
Wow.
The only way a government can exchange its worthless paper money for tangible goods and services is to give its citizens no choice.
Wow.
So let me ask you a question then. Why are you saving your life in paper after hearing that? If you continue to save your life, your energy, I don't even want to say, I'm gonna kind of switch the words we use here. Not your time, your energy. It's your energy that they're stealing.
Hmm.
It's your energy.
Okay, so I have so many questions.
So you're gonna
Go ahead. Go
if
no,
you're
go,
gonna
go ahead.
give up your energy, store it in something that's gonna contain it long term. Let's think about it like that. So if you're conserving, if if you're working to create energy long term, what do you want to preserve your energy in?
Hmm.
A store of value. You want to store it in money, and money must be a store of value. And the only things that meet that definition on this planet currently are God's money. The gold is mine and the silver is mine, saith the Lord. Over to you, Mrs. Brown.
You guys just again blew my hair all the way back. I'm thinking like, so from a layperson who is hearing all this for the first time. Um, First, I'm in shock that this could even be real. Like we're really living in a system that could be this fragile, and it is. We're literally watching the cookie crumble every day on TV. And then I think about the bailouts that have gone out and all this money, just money, 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 while the middle class and the poverty stricken are just really going to be screwed in this situation. Already are, but my question is, once you switch over to a gold based or silver backed system, how do you still interact and exchange with the rest of the world that's not? How do you jump over that hurdle?
That's a good question because you really can't.
Mm,
You can't jump over that hurdle. They hold all the systems in place currently that we have to use. So, it's funny that you would say that because I just looked up the word revolution.
mm,
And I don't know if you recall the words in the poem of Gil Scott Heron that ended with began with the revolution will not be televised.
mm-hmm,
So what we're seeing on TV is not the revolution, is not the change. What we're seeing on TV is the everyone just line up with what we're saying. Everyone just calm down, relax. There's nothing to see here. Everything's going to be all right. You see, this is what happens in the market. It's all going to come back. We're going to get through this. We're all in this together, all the placating.
mm-hmm,
Meanwhile, the true revelation happens grassroots, happens person to person, happens peer to peer, where we take back control of the system, where we say that we are going to transact in physical gold and physical silver, or we're going to transact in what's now known as the people's money. Robert Kiyosaki, one of my digital mentors, has coined the term gold as being God's money, papers being government's money, and cryptocurrency as being the people's money. Well, in a global currency reset, a global monetary reset, which we're headed to, because we're at $23 trillion of national debt, headed toward 24 rapidly with the amount of money amount of currency that we're printing, is that when you reset, you start from the beginning. Revolution, you come back around, you revolve back to the beginning. So if this next dispensation of a monetary system is going to be digital, then if the people keep control of the digital platforms, which is the blockchain, and you reset the currency and stabilize it with a true backing, meaning gold and silver. So this here is just a novelty coin, but this is 1 ounce of copper. So it's a novelty coin because it says B representing the Bitcoin, if you're familiar with that.
mm-hmm,
But this is also a store of value as well. This is money. This is a precious metal. But if we're going to use the digital currency, we want it to be backed by a physical representation of money as well, meaning gold and silver. So in this next dispensation, we got to find out what company or what entity out there is willing to give the people a digital currency and then back it with real money and make it exchangeable for real money so that basically the digital currency is a certificate.
mm-hmm.
So I can transact it with from me to you, Mrs. Brown, and buy your book with a digital currency, and you can transact with other people in the marketplace. But you know that if you want to get your real money, you have a place where you can say, "Hey, you take your digital certificate, and I'll take delivery of the physical metal." And without further ado, I'll go ahead and say it. There's only one place on the planet that currently does that, and that's Karatbars International with the KBC coin linked to physical gold stored in a vault. And linked to this. Our digital currency is this. You see, this looks like paper to the average eye if I wave it real fast. But if you look closely, the gold is embedded in the notes. That's 0.6 of a gram of gold in the notes. So if I give this to you in exchange for goods and services, you can give it to someone else or keep it and allow the value to continue to increase, because gold is constant and goes up in value, never down. I'm all over the place, Mr. Taylor. I could go in like I was on one of my personal live streams, man. Over to you.
And that's good. No, that's good, bro. Because like here's what you have to realize. When you showed that note, right? When you showed that tenth of a gram or the 6/10 of a gram, this is just a tenth of a gram. They're the same thing, except for what did we talk about? What were those things?
You have
Fungible.
because of your blur, Mr. Taylor. So
Oh
hold
yeah,
it.
that's right.
Hold it.
Well, y'all know what. Y'all know what. Come on now, you're gonna take
Hold it
me.
close to your
You're
face.
gonna make me look. So remember we was talking about fungible and durable. Well, it's the same thing. So our system allows us, instead of dealing in debt, we deal in assets and true wealth. So now when I pass Miss Queenie Brown a tenth of a gram of gold or a gram of gold for her book, she is now taking on wealth instead of debt.
Instead of debt.
It's the same. It's the people say, well, how do you spend the gold? Well, we created a way, Care Bars has created a way that I could literally, this is $8 right now. I could go into Starbucks or whatever and get a cup of coffee. If they were to take this, if they were to become a K merchant and say, yeah, we will receive these for payments of goods and service, I can go into any store. If anybody's a business owner right now, they could actually take this for goods and services instead of this. You could still take this, but why not have some of your customers on this? So now you're transactioning in true wealth. So you can actually hold this and keep this for your future.
And that's how the revolution takes place. That's how we overthrow the powers that be, because the powers that be is not our government. A government of the people for the people still exists, but it has just been lorded over by a Federal Reserve banking system. That's why a lot of the stuff that I look at and listen to, they end with, we have to end the Fed. If you want to end the tyranny, you have to end the Fed and its practices of doing whatever it wants and having an endless printing press, so there's no consequences. There's no consequences for taking the dollar. Why? Because I can just print more of it up. Or what they've done truly also is they've printed debt out of thin air and bought real assets. Central banks have been printing money and buying assets with money out of thin air. So they've been truly stealing the wealth, and they've been gearing up for this transition. They knew it was going to come. I don't want to get too, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I understand that COVID-19 is a real thing. It's here. People have lost their life in the name of COVID-19. I had a friend who lost his father. A very sad call, one of the saddest calls I've ever been on, as he cried his eyes out like a baby and apologized to me. And I had to tell him, you don't have to apologize to me, brother. You have to let this out. Otherwise, it will destroy you. But he said these words, and I won't say his name, but he said, well, in college, they called me Debo. He said, Debo, they killed my father because they isolated him. They put him in a hospital and isolated him. So this is a real thing, and I understand that it's a real thing, but it's also set up as to be the distraction, to be the wool over your eyes for you to focus on this, focus on covering your mouth, focus on covering your hands, focus on sanitizer, soap, toilet paper, stay inside, stay 6 feet apart, all this social distancing. I mean, they've created a new word. They've created a new public norm that people are looking at you as if you are diseased and infected, covering their mouth as if they can inhale a virus. A virus is not inhaled out of the anyway, but that's the new norm to make sure that you don't see what's happening behind the scenes. And what's happening behind the scenes is that there's no fundamentals back in the market. There's no earnings. There's no projections, there's no forecast, there's no retail. The service sector is down, but the market magically goes up 400, 500 points. I mean, if you can't see the manipulation just in that, 10 million Americans have applied for unemployment benefits, but the market's going up. The market is made of buyers and sellers. Where are the buyers if 10 million people just lost their job? Where are the buyers if the auto industry just saw their sales plummet by 12 to 20%? Where are the buyers in this market if the only place that people are going to spend currency is the supermarket right now, is the grocery store? How does the market go up? Through manipulation. So we have to stop playing that game. And that's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to make you think, to see, open your eyes, unplug from the matrix, or be like Neo and be able to be in the matrix, but be able to see it. I'm in the matrix, but I can see the zeros and the ones. I can see the dots. I see exactly how it's moving. And I move with it as to not cause enough of a ripple that brings attention to my family and I. I move with it just enough, but I cast my votes. Because it's funny, man, we go to the polls and we cast votes for a broken system, and we just keep putting people in a broken system. It's like pouring oil into a engine that's already locked up. The engine's locked up. I don't care how much oil you put into it, it's not going to refire. That's our voting system. We keep pouring oil into it, thinking that this next candidate is going to be the one that's going to change anything. They don't have any pull. They can't change anything. These are your votes. Start voting with these and taking them out of the system voluntarily and acquiring real assets. And here's the rub. Yes, I have a gold platform that I can refer you to where I acquire physical gold. I have a silver platform that I can refer you to where I acquire physical silver. I also acquire cryptocurrencies in the form of BTC, ETH, and KBC. You do the research. But here's the rub right here. You don't have to use my platforms. I would love for you to, because that's called group economics, and we become wealthy and a team and circulate the currency amongst us. But regardless what you do now, do not negate the necessity to acquire gold and silver and the right cryptocurrency in abundance. Now, what is abundance? Whatever, how much ever you can get while the opportunity is in front of you. It's like Noah has built the ark for it to rain, and it's raining, and then you're like, oh snap, Noah was right, and God left the ark open for you to get in. He didn't close it this time. He left it open. You see it raining, and the ark is still open. Your umbrella will not stop this flood. Your hopes and wishes and best laid prayers will not stop this flood, but your prior preparation will, and you have time to get prepared now. Over to you, Mr. Taylor.
Some hit me. A couple things hit me. I want to kind of explain to our family why they shouldn't be afraid of cryptocurrency, and when we say it's peer-to-peer. When you think of pretty much, if you were to ask anybody if they like the mafia, they would say no, right? Why? If you ask business owners if they like the mafia, they would say no. Why? Here's why. I come into Donovan's store, I buy some meat. The mafia comes in and takes a certain percentage of that money right off the rip. Give me that. Right? That is happening to us every day when they take taxes. The Federal Reserve taxes, that is their money system. That is how they create. So peer-to-peer, I'm going to Donovan and Queenie, and I'm going to do a peer-to-peer transaction. Some dude that I don't even know comes up and takes 40% of what I just gave Donovan. Because he's just a crook, and he just comes and take it. Blockchain is a defensive mechanism where I could say, here, Donovan, here's your $5,000. It blocks that dude from trying to come in and take 40% of what I just gave Donovan, because his system is to go in Donovan's pocket and just take it. And that's all they do. They just literally take your life. They literally do. Federal taxes, I'm not talking about state. Yes, you pay state taxes because that's for your roads, your law, but I'm talking federal. I'm not talking state. I'm talking federal.
Income taxes, not
income taxes,
income.
not state. I'm talking about income. You don't get paid income if you are an employee. You get compensated for your
For
time.
your
If
time.
I go to a job, I'm getting compensated. I make a contract with the company to say, okay, I'll give you 40 hours of my life and you're going to compensate me $12 an hour for each hour I spend here. Income is a business. If you're a business, then yes, you're making income.
Wow.
You're producing income now. But if I'm just working a job and you come and take my money, you take 35 to 40% of my money because you a gangster and you just that's like
Mhm.
literally that's like somebody coming to you. You just got your check and somebody coming to putting a gun to your head and saying, give me 40% of your money. And they
Wow.
take it and walk away and put it in their pockets and go feed their family. And now
And,
you short to feed your family.
and I recall, Mr. Taylor, you reading earlier, this fiat currency system, the way they tax you is with the threat of harm or pain.
Mm-hmm.
With
And
harm
the
or
threat
pain.
is if you don't pay those taxes, you'll go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put you in jail for not paying the taxes. And they've reversed it. Instead of taxing the corporations, they get the tax breaks and the employee pays the taxes. Well, see, the poor mindset would get angry at that. See, I told you they're crooks.
Hmm.
But the wealthy mindset will say, okay, well, how do I get on the corporation side?
Right.
How do I become the corporation and circumvent the system and use it to my advantage? Because a one-man army is not going to stop this thing that's been put in place. Oh, we're talking about 107 years now, 1913. You, me and Dwayne, man, we're a powerful duo. But we can't come against this army
Mm-hmm.
by ourselves. So we got to use it to our advantage. It's almost like in boxing, the styles make the fight. So we're going up against a slugger. I can't go in there slugging. I gotta roll with the punches. I gotta move. I gotta use my quickness to defeat him. I can't use my power. I gotta rope a dope him. Oh, you got me. You got me. But meanwhile, I've learned the whole system now, and now I'm using it to my advantage. And the way that we beat it is to come together with group economics and beat it collectively.
And I'm glad you said that
Yeah,
because I was
back
just about to say group economics. Do you understand that those six families came together as a group to create group economics?
Wow.
for the
They
long.
came together because they was like, look, we can come together and do this. Nowadays, we're trying to teach and educate, not trying. Our purpose, one of our purpose and passion is to teach our people it's okay to build wealth as a group. It's not a scam. They want you to believe it's a scam. Why? So you keep struggling because
Mhm.
you will never get out without a group. You need a group. Go to every wealthy person, and I guarantee you he has a group around him.
Yeah.
He has a circle. She has a circle of people around them to help them create.
And generally, the wealthiest person in the room is not the smartest.
Hmm.
No,
That's true.
no.
They've surrounded themselves with smart
Right.
people.
Right.
They stay in that circle. They stay insulated while we're out here without insulation by ourselves, working hard to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. That's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. Why?
Oh,
Because the dollar was not made to store value. Now, back in the day and time when it was, that might have worked. You know what, man? I'm going to work hard for me and my family, and I'm going to stack as much of these as I can. I'm going to give it to the bank, and the bank's going to pay me 15 to 20% interest. Yes, there was a time when a bank paid 15 to 20% interest on your money. So saving your money in a bank was a great investment, a great store to put your cash in. Well, now you're getting paid less than 1% interest. I mean,
Mm.
$1,000 would take you over 300 years to double in a banking system. Why are we using it? Because we've
and
been
now they charging you to keep your money in their bank.
Yeah, because it's negative interest, and again, they charge you little hidden fees to use that debit card, little hidden fees if your balance falls below a certain limit, if you don't have direct deposit. I mean, so many little nuances that they put in place. And I remember when I found out that one of these banks was charging a secondary account we were using for my wife like 3% because it was under $1,000. I was like, oh man, I'll move to another bank. I got over to that other bank and they said the exact same thing. That is called collusion, ladies and gentlemen. These banks are in collusion with each other that this is what we're going to do together. So it's not
Group
like, well, you're
economics.
charging me 3% and I'm gonna go over here. Oh, we're not charging over here. They're like, no, we're doing the same thing.
Mm.
Collusion to rob you of your wealth, and not a one man in a million will be able to sense the theft. The creator of the assembly line, Mr. Henry
Henry
Ford,
Ford.
said that it is well enough that the people do not understand the current monetary system, for if they did, I believe there will be a revolution before
Wow.
tomorrow morning. There will be riots in the street before tomorrow morning. And here we are in the dispensation of information, and we still don't know.
Mm.
Because we binge watching Netflix. Go ahead, Miss Brown.
I feel violated.
You should.
I feel violated and I feel abused and just, duped. Duped.
But
And
it's not your fault.
right, and I know that, and I don't feel like a victim, but I just feel like, wow, like the level of wickedness that would go into creating and maintaining such a system that is really oppression. It's systemized
Let me
oppression.
see if I can.
Mhm.
And it's just it's really disheartening. And so part of it is I'm glad that it's coming to an end, but how do I protect myself? Okay, so pay myself first and look into well, not look into, but pay myself first by transitioning my money, my fiat currency from the dollar bill, which is debt, into the gold or silver, and then invest in cryptocurrency, which that to me is a foreign. I don't even understand what that means. I hear about it. I hear about Bitcoin and all these other coins, and people can create their own coins, and I don't understand how any of that stuff works. So that might be the next show or another show that we can go into. You guys can educate all of us on it, but we need like a safety net, like and like stat. We gotta get it going now.
And and that is the key. And I see you got something on your heart, Mr. Taylor. But what I wanted to add was
Yeah,
that
let y'all finish.
what you said, Mrs. Brown, is so poignant. And what I thought of when you said that, because you are a female, you are a lady, was a lady in a. Oh man, I didn't went out again, huh?
No, you're still here.
No, you good?
Oh, I'm here. Oh, y'all stopped. I thought I was out. I was like, man, these
We're
bugs are
listening. Come
gremlins.
on, come on.
But hey, think about what has happened over these last 20 to 30 years as domestic violence has come to light.
Mm,
And we find that most women stay in the relationship. And those that stay in the relationship, I would say what? I don't know the statistics, but I'll just throw it out there. Maybe 50-50. 50% of them end up dead from their partner, killed by someone that supposedly loved them, because they're abused, but they feel love in that abuse. We've been abused by this system, but it's the only one that we know.
yeah.
So, like, what else can I do? This is the
Yes.
only system I know.
Yes.
And that's why it's not like, okay, on your next paycheck, when you get paid your $2,000, you take all 2,000 and you go buy all the gold and silver you can. Well, that's stupid. Who in their right mind would advise you to do that or tell you to do that? Disclaimer: I am not a financial advisor, which means I can tell you the truth, and all I'm telling you is what I do. But what I do, I get that check for 2,000, and I take the first part of it, 10%, $200, and I put into gold and silver and crypto, like clockwork. I am like a robot building my nest egg so that when the system crumbles and it resets on what I have, now the last shall be first. I mean, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So I'm putting myself in position through my obedience, through history. The further you look back, the further you can look forward. Well, here we are. We are at the doorstep
Mm-hmm.
of the end of a cycle and the start of a new one. So be in position, not later, now. And that's the beauty of Karatbars International and this other system that we use for silver, is that you can start with as little as $8 gold or $20 silver. I mean, it's you don't even have to think about it. Take the action and continue with your life as normal. Like Mr. Taylor used to tell me, it's like a glove that fits on your hand. It doesn't change what you're doing or who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You just put the glove on and you keep going about your business the same way, knowing that you're doing the prudent and wise thing for you and your family. Over to you, Mr. Taylor.
Ooh, man, that just hit me. When we put the glove on, we protecting our labor.
Mm.
So check this
That was
out
a
real
mic
quick.
drop.
So this started back in 1773. I want our family to understand group economics real quick. So according to William, this real quick, I ain't gonna read the whole thing. Um, The initial meeting of these ex officio planners took place in Meyer Amschel Bauer's goldsmith shop in Frankfurt in 1773.
Wow.
Bauer, who adopted the name of Rothschild or Red Shield from the red shield which he hung over his door to advertise his business. What was he originally?
A
A
goldsmith.
goldsmith. Okay.
Mm.
The red shield today is the official coat of arms of the city of Frankfurt. Was only 30 years of age when he invited 12 other wealthy and influential men to meet him in Frankfurt. His purpose was to convince them that if they agreed to pool their resources, they could then finance and control the world revolutionary movement and use it as their manual of action to win ultimate control of the wealth, natural resources, and manpower of the entire world.
Wow.
This agreement reached Mayer unfolded his revolutionary plan. The project would be backed by all the power that could be purchased with their pooled resources. And we are living in that right now today. This right here that's happening is still part of that plan
Wow.
from 1773. That's vision. That's the difference between a person who has vision and someone who doesn't. They didn't see the end of this right now. They saw the end, but they knew they wouldn't live in the end, but they saw it. Harold Seitz is a visionary. He sees what's coming, and we connected to. I don't have to see this. What I want our family. Turn your brain off right now. Like, for real, please.
Yeah.
Turn your brain off and start acquiring gold. And don't ask, what do I do with the gold? You hold the gold. You hold the silver. You just learn why. Because it's storing your value for a future day. It's not for today, ladies and gentlemen. The gold and silver that you are acquiring today is not for today. It's for tomorrow. And that's what you got. Get out of this mentality that as soon as you get these notes in your hand, you got to go spend it and get the satisfaction right now for spending these things. No, get the satisfaction of knowing that when I exchange some of these for real wealth, man, let that be your joy. That I'm protecting my wealth. Like, stop letting stuff be your damn joy. Like, let your wealth be your joy.
I mean, because look at what's happening right now in the world. You can see how meaningless that stuff is. I have shoes and clothes that are just sitting in my closet right now. They have no purpose right now. They have no purpose to be worn. I'm not going anywhere. Can't go anywhere. Everything's closed. So you see what little value that stuff has. But boy, when I come up into my office, and this is just one coin of silver that I'm showing you. But when I start just kind of stacking up my silver coins, and I can hear my wife downstairs, she's like, "What is that?" Because the sound of precious metal clinging together is unlike anything you've ever heard. It just feels like money, like real talk. Like I feel like a king in here. When I start taking my gold cards and shuffling them together and like start counting them and really seeing how many ounces of gold I've acquired over these last 2.5 years, going on 3, I'm like, oh my God. Through simply paying myself first, started out at $60 a month, but as the price of gold to dollars, it cost me more dollars to acquire that gold. It's gone up to 75, but I gladly exchange it because I have a wealthy mindset that's not looking at price. I'm looking at the value that I'm getting. Because had I not started exchanging for 60, I wouldn't know the value in exchanging for 75. That the 60 that I exchanged made $15 each just by sitting here on my desk and in my safe and in my other hiding spots, just sitting there. Oh my God.
Man, you know how broke-minded we are, and I want our audience to hear this. This is how broke-minded they've trained us to be. We have sometimes when people would get gold, they would look at the price, or they would try to go find the spot price or this price of the gold. And then they would be like, well, we noticed that your gold is like 20% higher than the spot price. Well, first of all, you don't get the spot price. But you don't ever think about that when you buying them Jordans.
Mm.
You don't think about that when you buying them red bottoms. Like those red bottoms ain't worth the amount of money you paying for. Them Jordans are not $250, but you willing to pay $250 for a $20 pair of shoes that's made over in Korea.
Stuff.
Mm.
Stuff. But I tell you to get you, keep you $75 for your. Now all of a sudden start short circuiting in your brain like, I'm overpaying. I'm a
Mm.
what? Please, that's broke mentality. What I want our family to hear is this is about a journey going from a trained poverty mindset
Mhm.
into a trained wealth building mindset.
And Mr. Taylor, that's a great transition, man, to bring up something that we talked about earlier. Man, I just looked at my board and then my train of thought got thrown off. Um, uh, Trained, conditioned, schooled. God, dog, praise the Lord. Um, the God, man, because I know
Let
we
He
got to
Queenie
said,
wrap
say
up.
it'll come back. Let Queenie say it. It'll
Yes,
come back.
yes.
he was saying it goes. We're going from a trained poverty mindset to a trained wealth building mindset. Did that trigger for you? No.
It didn't. Let me share this, and I think this will trigger it, right? Um, oh man, I just went away from it. But what I want to share is four principles, four keys to building wealth that we found on this journey. These four keys to building wealth are truly goes against everything that we were conditioned to believe, all the truths that we hold self-evident. Um, and cognitive dissonance may try to come in, but the number one key to building wealth that we found is that you have to create residual income. Residual income is income that comes in without you having to exchange labor for it or exchange your time for it all the time. Number two, you must accumulate appreciating assets. We just shared with you two accumulating assets, gold and silver, or really it's one, it's precious metals, but it's divided into the two that are used for monetary purposes. You also have rhodium, um, palladium, and platinum,
Platinum.
but these are industrial metals. These are not considered monetary metals like gold and silver. The other assets you have is oil, land, not your house that you're paying a mortgage on, but true real estate land that can be developed on, that can bring money into your pocket, or rental property. And what's the fourth one, Mr. Taylor? Fine art, fine museum quality art, like Jay-Z said in the story of OJ. I bought some artwork for 1 million. 2 years later, it's worth 2 million. A few years later, it's worth 8 million. I can't wait to give it all to my children. So now, do you $1 million liquid? No, you don't. So let's start with something that you can start to acquire today, and that's physical gold and silver in abundance in small transaction friendly increments. Number two, you must outrun inflation.
That's
Inflation
great.
is exactly what we're about to experience now with the printing of this US dollar to bail us out of this economic collapse, or to attempt to, because they can't do it. You have to outrun inflation. That's the loss in purchasing power of your dollar. The only way to do that is to store your currency in a store of value. It must be stored in something that outruns inflation. Gold and silver does that. And you have to utilize the advantages of the tax code. The group economics that we're talking about allow you to use the tax code to your advantage and become the corporation where the miles that you drive home from your day job to home become business miles. The trip that you take becomes a business trip. The dinners and meals that you eat become business and dinner meals. The clothes that you buy become work uniforms. Why? Because there's presentations that you give at these dinners, at these meetings, at these gatherings. So those clothes now become uniforms that can also be written off. It's so much more to the tax code than meets the eye. I don't still don't know everything. I'm still learning about all the benefits of having a corporation, which I'm recognized as by having a home-based business. I experience all the benefits without all the expenses. The expenses are my natural day-to-day expenses. But I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Ms. Brown.
Wow. Well, you guys have, this has been so rich, and my pen is smoking. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. And what I wanted to do is to let our audience and our family know that the Kingsmen have just educated me in so many ways, and I'm so grateful for it. There is a way that you can get involved, and you can access a free account, create a free account for yourself. And I'm going to put a link in the comments so that you can start building your own wealth, start saving your own money, and get started and do what they've recommended that we do. Again, they're not financial advisors, but they got it. They understand what's happening with the money system. And so I myself am taking advantage of it, and I'm going to do it today. I know I've been putting it off, but I'm going to do more today. And I want to invite you all to do the same, because the writing is on the wall, and if the ark is open still, I want in. I don't want to be out there drowning with the rest of the folks trying to figure out how to put it all back together again. So I want to thank you, Kingsmen, for your time, for your wisdom, for your diligence. And I look forward to doing this again next week, you guys. If you have any questions for us, please make sure you leave them in the comments. Do share this broadcast on your feeds. Share it with all of your social media accounts, so that people can know more about how to protect themselves and how to protect their money going forward. This is a new day. It's a new time, and we are in new territory. And the last thing we want to do is have our family and those that we love caught out there. All right. So, guys, do you have anything final that you want to say very quickly?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to end with this. You and your family are worth 10%.
I agree.
God, you're worth 10% of your labor. Oh my God.
That's so good, Mr. Taylor. I'm gonna end with an amen to that point.
Amen. All right. Thank you all again for joining us. This has been Thank God It's Financial Freedom Fridays. I'm Queenie and the Kingsmen, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, family.
Love y'all.
Love you. Love you.